You know what the worst feeling is? It's when your own parents try to kick you out of the house just because your sister got divorced and was left with nothing. The very house I spent 3 years breaking my back for working overtime, staying up late to make the payments, and fix it up, and now they treat me like I don't belong here. They're ready to push me aside to make room for her as if I was never part of this home. And that was the moment I realized sometimes it's your own family that stabs you the deepest. If you've ever felt betrayed by the people who were supposed to love you the most, you're not alone. Hit that subscribe button and stick around because what happened next will make you question what family really means. Let's dive into the rest of this story. I'm standing in my kitchen, the heart of the home I've carved out through years of relentless sacrifice, when my parents, Evelyn and Harold Bennett, slide a handwritten eviction notice across my oak dining table. My name is Lauren Mitchell, a 35-year-old hospital administrator who has poured every ounce of resolve into this modest, ivy-draped bungalow in Willow Creek. The paper trembles slightly in my mother's hand as she announces, her voice edged with unyielding certainty. Your sister needs this house. Lauren. Her divorce has left her with nothing. My father, his graying temples catching the afternoon light, nods solemnly, adding, family always comes first, and you know that. The words land like a physical blow, stealing my breath. 3 years of mortgage payments, late-night renovations, and dreams woven into these walls. My walls, and they expect me to surrender it all because my sister Cassandra has seen her marriage implode. Shock roots me to the linoleum floor, my fingers gripping the edge of the counter as a tide of anger surges, threatening to drown the fragile boundaries I've spent years constructing. This house, a craftsman-style haven with its sage green exterior and creaking hardwood floors, is more than a structure. It's the culmination of a decade-long odyssey. As a department head at Riverside Medical Center, I've juggled 60-hour work weeks with a master's degree in healthcare management. My peers jetted off to Bali or splurged on couture. I drove a 15-year-old Toyota with a finicky clutch-packed tuna sandwiches and funneled every spare dollar into a savings account labeled home. For 6 years, I declined invitations to lavish weddings, lived in a damp studio apartment with a perpetually leaking faucet, and worked holiday shifts for overtime pay. My singular ambition to own a home by 35 dictated every choice. When I found this 3-bedroom sanctuary, its chipped white trim and outdated kitchen didn't deter me. Its sturdy foundation and sunlit breakfast nook whispered possibility. Closing day was a sacred moment, the weight of the keys in my hand pulling tears from my eyes. I was the first in our family to own property, a milestone that shifted the tectonic plates of our family's dynamics, unnoticed by them, but seismic to me. My parents, Evelyn and Harold, have always inhabited a comfortable middle-class orbit in the suburban sprawl of Maple Grove. Dad's steady job managing construction projects and Mom's 30 years teaching 3rd grade afforded them respectability, if not wealth. Their financial philosophy: work diligently, pay bills, save modestly, retire quietly, clashed with my aggressive saving and investment strategies, creating a subtle friction whenever money entered our conversations. My younger sister, Cassandra, 28, danced through life with an effortless charisma that I, the methodical overachiever, could never replicate. Where I clawed my way through academia with dogged determination, Cassandra glided through, on charm, her intuitive brilliance outshining my structured efforts. This dynamic cemented our roles early. I was the dependable daughter, the one who fixed problems. Cassandra was the radiant dreamer, her spontaneity celebrated. Her career in luxury real estate sales amplified this divide, her natural magnetism securing million-dollar listings while I navigated hospital bureaucracy. Her marriage to Ethan Caldwell, a wealthy property developer, catapulted her into a world of gated estates and Mediterranean honeymoons, while I attended their extravagant wedding in a thrifted gown, still saving for my down payment. The family's favoritism was never overt, but it was constant, a quiet current eroding my place. Childhood arguments concluded with the family telling me to be the bigger person. My accomplishments honor roll scholarships, promotions, earned polite nods, while Cassandra's victories sparked effusive praise. Last Thanksgiving, I shared my department's 30% increase in patient satisfaction scores, a feat born of sleepless nights and careful planning only for the conversation to change course when Cassandra hinted at marital strain with Ethan. My milestone disappeared, replaced by a chorus of concern for her. I learned to protect myself, confide in my friend Sarah Thompson, a real estate attorney, and my colleague Marcus, who was familiar with the difficulties facing families. These allies became my haven, a place where I was seen, not overshadowed, but despite my careful boundaries, I maintained a fragile truce with my family, attending monthly dinners and holiday gatherings, always guarding my heart. The first crack in this equilibrium came via a text from Mom during my morning commute. "Call me ASAP, emergency with Cassandra." It read cryptic and urgent. My mind raced through possibilities, illness, accident, or worse, as I maneuvered through traffic. From my office I called, and Mom's voice, thick with emotion, unraveled the news Ethan had filed for divorce after 3 years. His development firm had crumbled under failed projects, forcing suggestions of financial restraint, canceling their planned yacht vacation, downsizing their fleet of luxury cars that Cassandra took as personal betrayal. Their arguments escalated until Ethan decamped to a penthouse loft, leaving her in a mansion she couldn't sustain on her erratic commissions. That night, I called Cassandra, her voice raw with grief. "Everything's falling apart, Lauren. He's changed, talking about budgets like we're destitute." I offered my guest room for a few weeks, a practical gesture to help her regroup. She thanked me but demurred, saying she needed time to consider her options. 2 days later, Dad called with a tone full of implications, saying, "Cassandra's moved in with us for now, but her situation is dire, Lauren. She's used to a certain lifestyle." Mom interrupted, "Your house has that extra bedroom, and you're just one person rattling around in all that space." The suggestion hung like a guillotine, their expectation clear: I should sacrifice my home for Cassandra's comfort. Family steps up in crises. Dad added, his voice a blend of authority and expectation. The conversation made me uneasy, a sign that something bigger was about to happen. My suspicions were confirmed when I found out that Cassandra had turned down a generous divorce settlement, which included cash and assets that could have bought her a comfortable apartment, demanding to keep their opulent Willowbrook estate instead, which was impossible given her financial situation. When I offered to help her find affordable housing or co-sign a lease, she dismissed me, saying sharply, "You don't understand what I'm going through, Lauren." The following Saturday, the storm broke out when Mom asked for a family meeting at my house the following afternoon. The formal tone and short notice made me nervous, but I agreed, and I spent Sunday morning meticulously cleaning my already spotless house, a nervous ritual to calm the dread that was building in my stomach. When the doorbell rang at precisely 2 hours, I opened it to find my parents and Cassandra, their faces set in a united front of grim determination. Cassandra's eyes swept my entryway, her lip curling slightly at my minimalist decor. "This place feels smaller than I remember," she said, her tone laced with judgment as she examined my bookshelves. Dinner was SROS, system a tense affair, the air heavy with unsaid motives. Mom's questions about local property values were thinly veiled. Cassandra's silence was unnerving, her eyes measuring my dining room as if already claiming it. Dad's posture changed to the authoritative stance of my childhood after dessert, and I braced myself. My herb-roasted chicken earned Dad's stiff praise, but his questions about my mortgage terms felt like probes. "We've been talking about Cassandra's situation," he said, his voice practiced, "and we think we found a solution that works for everyone." Mom nodded, her eyes shining with practiced empathy as he slid a manila folder across the table. When I opened it, I saw a typed proposal demanding that I give up my house to Cassandra and move into an apartment. A handwritten eviction notice, written in Mom's elegant cursive, stated that I had 30 days to leave. My breath caught, disbelieving with rage. "Cassandra has children to think about," Mom said, her voice quivering with fake emotion. "They need stability." Dad's practical tone followed. "We've found some great apartments near the hospital. Lauren, Parkview Gardens has a pool and gym, better amenities, really," Mom said. The final blow came when Dad explained, "The mortgage stays in your name, of course. Cassandra needs time to rebuild her client base without housing costs." My voice shook as I replied, "This house is mine. I saved for it, qualified for it, and paid for it alone." Mom waved a hand. "Legal details don't outweigh family, Lauren. Property is just property, family is forever." Their preparation was chilling, a calculated ambush. Cassandra, meanwhile, paced my living room with a measuring tape, assessing space for her furniture. I heard drawers opening upstairs as Cassandra assessed my bedroom storage, her voice drifting down the master bath stated, "But it'll do for now." Their disregard for my personal space and their boldness brought me to the verge of breaking down. "I need you all to leave," I said, standing my voice steady despite the storm inside. Dad's face hardened. "We're trying to have a rational discussion, Lauren. No need for hysterics." Their refusal to respect my boundaries sparked a fire, and voices increased until my neighbor, Mrs. Callahan, looked through her window and saw the disintegration of my family's facade. Dad gathered their papers, issuing a final ultimatum. "You have 1 week to decide, Lauren. Family or selfishness, those are your choices." Mom's parting shot was tearful. I never thought my daughter would choose a house over her sister's well-being. Cassandra lingered in the doorway, her eyes cold. "Don't make this job harder," she said. The violation of their coordinated manipulation sent shivers down my spine as I collapsed onto the kitchen floor, clutching my knees as their car engines died out. This was not an impulsive plea, but rather a planned attack on my independence disguised as family duty. Doubt crept in. Was it selfish of me to defend my home? The question tormented me as I lay awake, reliving a lifetime of similar patterns, sharing my car with Cassandra at the age of 17, despite her reckless driving, rearranging my college schedule to drive her to auditions, and always caving in to her demands under the pretense of family harmony. The clarity of the morning brought resolve, and over lunch with Sarah at a quaint cafe, I spilled the beans. Her legal knowledge pierced my turmoil, saying, "What they're proposing isn't just unfair, it's potentially fraudulent. You can't be forced to pay a mortgage for a home you don't occupy." Her words strengthened my resolve, and by the afternoon, I was searching legal databases, finding instances of family financial abuse that mirrored my own. The logical part of me recognized the ridiculousness of their demand, but the emotional weight of disobeying family loyalty gnawed at my heart. By Friday, I sat across from lawyer Rachel Nguyen in her classy downtown office, and her cool-headedness grounded me as I described the ambush. "Your parents have no legal standing to evict you," she said firmly, "and continuing mortgage payments while surrendering possession is a legal minefield." Her clarity was a lifeline, and we talked about protective measures from cease and desist letters to communication boundaries. That night, unsettling information came to light. Neighbors said my parents had asked about local property values. Weeks prior, Mom had told Mrs. Callahan that I was selling my house, a lie. And worst of all, Cassandra's Instagram showed off furniture photos with the caption, "Picking pieces for my new chapter, new home," as if my home were already hers. The betrayal went beyond the eviction notice, revealing a planned attempt to seize what I had built. My home, my sanctuary, feels violated, its walls echoing the boldness of my family's calculated plan. The Instagram post, her smug caption claiming my space as her new chapter, burns in my mind. A digital dagger plunged into the heart of my independence. I pace the hardwood floors, their familiar creaks, grounding me as I wrestle with the question that haunts my sleepless nights. How did my family, the people who raised me, justify this theft of my dreams? The betrayal lingers in my lungs like smoke, heavy and suffocating like smoke in my lungs. But I'm done playing that part. The burning in my belly isn't just fury, it's resolution, a pledge to preserve all I've achieved, no matter the cost. The answer is found in decades of unwritten norms, where my position as the dependable, unselfish daughter was engraved into our family's tale. Sunday morning dawns gray and heavy, reflecting the weight in my soul. My parents' unexpected arrival breaks the silence, their arms loaded with flattened moving boxes and a roll of packing tape. "We figured you'd need these to get started," Dad says, his voice dripping with presumptuous confidence, as if my surrender is inevitable. Mom's smile is tight, her eyes scanning my entryway like a general surveying a battlefield. "These are extras from Cassandra's move out of Willowbrook," she adds, her tone almost cheerful. The assumption that I've given up without a word pushes me past hesitation. My voice steady as stone cuts through their charade. "I haven't agreed to anything. You need to leave now." Dad's jaw tightens, his authority challenged. "We're just helping Lauren. No need to make this a war. But it is a war one they started, and I'm no longer the obedient daughter they expect. I sit in Rachel Nguyen's office on Monday, and the polished mahogany table between us acts as a barrier against the chaos that threatens to overwhelm me. Her pen moves quickly as she lays out my options, saying, "A cease and desist letter will establish your legal position and warn them against further harassment," in a calm but firm voice. "It's a clear signal you're serious," she says, and I nod my hands, shaking as I sign the authorization. I feel empowered, but it's tinged with grief. This is my family, and yet here I am arming myself with legal defenses. Rachel's team drafts a document citing harassment laws and property statutes that forbid my family from entering my home without permission, making false claims about who owns it or pressuring me to give it up. The letter sent certified with a signature required lands at my parents' doorstep on Tuesday afternoon, with Dad's name scrawled on the receipt at 3:47 p.m., a timestamp marking the moment their campaign hit a wall. The ensuing quiet is unsettling like a calm before a storm. My phone is silent for almost 24 hours, no calls, texts, or unexpected visits, but on Thursday morning the dam breaks and notifications appear on my screen. Mom sent remorseful messages asking, "How could you involve lawyers in family matters?" "Lauren," Dad sternly warned, "this path will break our family forever. Is that what you want? We are your parents." Even distant relatives weigh in on Cassandra's accusations, saying things like, "You're betraying me when I'm at my lowest. I never thought you'd be so heartless." Aunt Margaret's call regarding my parents' heartbreak and Uncle Tom's text urging compromise, and their words weave a web of shame, with each message serving as a thread to bring me back into compliance. However, I now recognize their narrative, which is carefully twisted to portray me as the villain and the self-centered daughter who hoards her home while her sister suffers. Cassandra's social media campaign intensifies, and her posts masterfully manipulate others. Tearful selfies with the caption, "Family should lift you up, not tear you down." Heartbroken, elicit sympathetic comments from mutual acquaintances. "Stay strong, Cass. You don't deserve this." They write, oblivious to the truth. She avoids direct slander, but the implication is clear. I'm the thing standing in her way of recovery, the cold-hearted sister who prioritizes bricks over blood. The betrayal stings, but it also sharpens my focus. I take screenshots of her posts and send them to Rachel for documentation. This could support a harassment claim if it continues, she advises, her voice a steady anchor. Are you aware that the house is my property and I haven't authorized any lock changes? Dad stands with a locksmith pointing to the knob. Mom hovers nearby, her face a mask of determination, and I grab my phone recording as I dial the non-emergency police line. My voice shakes as I step outside. The confrontation peaks Monday morning as I get ready for work. A strange noise at my front door pulls me to the window. My heart stops. The locksmith, a wiry man in his 50s, looks at Dad unsurely and says, "I was told this was a family matter, ma'am." Dad's calmness breaks down and he snaps, "We're her parents trying to help our daughter." But the locksmith hesitates. Officer Torres shows up and his cool demeanor eases the tension. He looks over my ID and mortgage documents and nods as I explain. The locksmith apologizes and packs his tools, and Dad's face flushes crimson. "This is ridiculous. We're not criminals," Mom says, clutching her chest with tears in her eyes. I stay firm and say clearly, "You tried to break into my home. That's not help. It's a crime." As their antics, which were previously my kryptonite, now feel empty. Officer Torres advises filing a report. "It'll protect you if this escalates," he says, his notepad filled with details. As my parents retreat, their parting glares carry a promise of retribution. I'm shaken but unbowed, the video on my phone, a shield against their lies. That afternoon, an unexpected message arrives via LinkedIn. Ethan Caldwell, Cassandra's estranged husband, requests a meeting. "I need to discuss family dynamics affecting our divorce," he writes. Curiosity overrides caution, and we meet at a downtown cafe. Ethan, haggard from legal battles, sips his coffee. Cassandra rejected a settlement that would have set her up comfortably. Cash half the assets, enough for a nice place. he says, his voice weary. She's obsessed with keeping the Willowbrook estate despite our bankruptcy. And I've seen texts, Lauren. She's been planning to take your house for months with your parents' blessing. The revelation is a gut punch confirming their betrayal's depth. My sister and my parents conspiring before Ethan even left. The weight of their plan weighs heavily on me, but it also strengthens my resolve. I'm fighting for my right to exist independently of them, not just for my house. Rachel's advice keeps coming back to me. Keep a record of everything. Create a paper trail. I save Ethan's messages and add them to my expanding file. When I get home, I see Mrs. Callahan watching from her porch, her face worried, and she walks across the street, her voice low. I saw your parents checking your windows last week, Lauren. They said you were selling, but I knew that wasn't right. Her words and neighbors' quiet solidarity give me strength, and I thank her, my resolve hardening. This isn't just a family feud, it's a siege, and I'm prepared to defend my ground. The air in my house feels charged like the moments before a thunderstorm splits the sky. Ethan's words weigh heavily on my heart, and I sit at my kitchen table, the same one scarred by their eviction notice, with my fingers tracing its knots as if they might hold answers. The world outside my windows moves softly with the rustling of leaves and the barking of a neighbor's dog. But inside, I'm bracing myself for the next blow. My resolve is a mountain now immovable, but the grief of losing the family I thought I had cuts like a cold wind. My name is Lauren Mitchell, and this fight isn't just for my home, it's for the right to define my own story, to stand tall against those who would bend me to their will. The tension spills into a cousin's wedding weekend, a gathering meant for celebration, but heavy with the undercurrents of our feud. As I arrive at the rehearsal dinner, relatives' eyes dart between me and my parents, their seating choices silently declaring their sides. I find a table near the edge, my plate untouched as whispers ripple through the room. Cassandra, radiant in a silk dress, holds court at the center, her laughter bright but her glances toward me sharp as flint. Mom and Dad sit close to her, their faces a mask of strained civility. Midway through the evening, my quiet Aunt Evelyn, her gray braid trailing down her back, approaches, her voice low like a stream over stones. I've heard their tale, Lauren, but it doesn't sit right. Something's off. Her words, simple but piercing, crack open a space for truth. Other relatives drift closer. Uncle James, a retired teacher, questions their logic. No one can demand your home, not even family. He says loud enough for heads to turn. Cousin Lila nods, her eyes soft. You've always been the steady one, Lauren. They're asking too much. The public doubt unravels my parents' narrative, and Cassandra's composure fractures. She rises, tears glinting, and sweeps out of the reception, Mom and Dad trailing like shadows. Their exit leaves a void, and for the first time, I feel the tide shifting. Relatives who'd stayed silent now share their unease, their voices weaving a fragile net of support. But the reprieve is brief. At the wedding reception, under the glow of strung lights, my parents corner me near the restrooms. Dad's voice is a low growl. If you don't rethink this stubbornness, you're done with this family. No more gatherings, no more ties. Mom's nod is solemn, her words, a blade. Family demands sacrifice. Lauren, you've chosen a house over those who matter most. The ultimatum lands like a stone, in still water, ripples of shock spreading through me. Cassandra appears, her face a mask of righteous fury. I deserve that house, Lauren. I have kids' responsibilities. Your little hospital job, your empty life. What's the point? Her hatred reveals the jealousy that drives her. The wedding's joy seems far away, but I find comfort in Lila's quiet company, her hand on my arm a silent promise of alliance. Back home, Rachel's advice takes on new urgency. Their behaviors crossed into harassment. She says her office a haven of clarity. A restraining order might be next, if they escalate again. The idea of legal walls against my own blood aches, but the locksmith incident, their threats, Cassandra's venom, they leave me with no choice. I nod, my jaw clenched. Do what's needed. I call advanced security systems on Monday, and by Wednesday, my house is a fortress with doorbell cameras, window sensors, motion-activated lights, and a monitoring app that pings my phone with every movement. The technician, a rough-hewn man named Carl, nods approvingly, saying, You'll know if a squirrel so much as sneezes on your porch. However, my financial security also requires attention as I find out that my parents have my social security number and salary details gleaned from years of casual trust. At my credit union advisor, Elena Cruz, walks me through the protections warning, family exploits personal info in a kind but firm voice. Over the course of 2 days, I changed every password using an encrypted manager. My bank required in-person identification for any changes. The credit bureaus locked my accounts with fraud alerts, and my HR department flagged my file for privacy. Each step strengthens my defenses, preventing potential vulnerabilities that my family could exploit. My workplace turns into a haven, and Supervisor Karen's support is a comforting balm. She says, "Family drama shouldn't bleed into your work," and she adjusts my schedule for legal meetings. Her faith keeps me steadfast in contrast to my family's dismissal. A note from a neighbor, Mr. Hensley, a retired mechanic, slips into my mailbox and adds another layer of vigilance. He writes, "Saw your parents and sister testing your backyard gate last Tuesday. They tried the shed too. Looked like trouble." His scrawl, complete with dates and times, joins my legal file, a silent act of community standing with me. I thank him over coffee, and his stern nod is a pledge of watchfulness. When I happen to run into Cassandra at Greenfield Coffee, my ground shifts. We collide in line, her cold stare melting as I suggest a table. "I want to understand you," I say, my voice raw with sincerity, and she sits with her guard down, saying, "You've always had it together, Lauren. Your job, your savings, your house." My life's crumbling because Ethan decided budgets matter more than love. Her admission, laced with jealousy, reveals the root of her claim: not need, but resentment of my stability. I offer practical help, financial counseling through my hospital contacts for affordable housing. "I can help you plan, Cass," I say, meaning it. Her face hardens, saying, "I don't need handouts or cheap apartments. I need a house that matches who I am." Her rejection of reason and her insistence on status over survival make her motivations clear, and I depart with my compassion intact, but my boundaries firmer. Rachel's second letter, dispatched following the locksmith incident, comes as a shock. It lists trespassing, harassment, and defamation as possible charges, and copies are sent to the local police. My parents respond on Thursday. Dad texts me, "Your choices disappoint us, but we respect your legal stance." Although there is no apology, I notice a retreat and a crack in their armor, which makes me exhale and feel a little less pressure. My therapist, Dr. Lena White, suggests a 3-month no-contact period. Space lets you heal without their pull. She says, her voice a gentle guide. Rebuild your circle, outside their reach. Their stories of family struggles mirror mine, creating a tapestry of shared strength. Weekend hikes with Sarah's group, volunteering at the community garden. Each connection grounds me in a chosen family, free from the bonds of obligation. I am Lauren Mitchell, and my journey has become a path of carving out my own place, not just in this house, but in a world where I define my worth. The siege is over, but the scars remain, and I'm learning to tend to them to grow stronger where they tried to break me. The quiet of my home is like a woven blanket, its walls no longer trembling with the echoes of my family's demands, but alive with the pulse of my own choices. The motion lights at dusk, and the soft hum of the security system sing of safety, of a space reclaimed. Work at Riverside Medical Center becomes a beacon. Its demands a steady current pulling me forward, and my patient experience program, a labor of late nights and relentless data, earns regional praise. The Chief Operating Officer, Dr. Patel, calls me into her office, and her warm eyes belie the weight of her voice, which says, "Your work, Lauren, is exceptional. The Director of Patient Experience position is open, and your leadership through all this personal turmoil makes you the clear choice." The promotion, accompanied by a raise and flexibility, feels like a divine blessing, a validation my family never provided, and I accept it with a steady voice and a soaring heart. This is my path, earned through grit, not handed to me by charm or favor. Colleagues Marcus, Priya, and Lena become more than just co-workers outside of work. They become kin of the heart. Their laughter over meals together at my table fills the void left by my family's absence. Marcus gives a raw account of how he resisted a brother who demanded his savings, saying, "Your fight, Lauren. It showed me I could say no too. Priya's quiet strength and her stories of overcoming her parents' expectations reflect mine. And Lena's dry humor breaks through the sadness. We cook together, sharing recipes and stories, and our relationship grows like roots in fertile soil. Sarah's hiking group welcomes me on weekends, the crunch of leaves beneath my feet, and the wind through the pines purifying my soul. At the community garden, I kneel next to neighbors, their hands in the dirt, with mine, their smiles unjudging. These people, this chosen family, see me for who I am, not as a supporting character in someone else's drama. My home also changes, and every change is a declaration of my sovereignty. The guest room, which was once a neutral beige to please others, now glows in deep indigo and has a desk where I write my thoughts. The kitchen, which was once a place of practical function, sparkles with a cobalt blue backsplash, a color I'd always loved but was afraid would draw criticism from my family. In the backyard, I've planted a meditation garden with lavender sage and a small fountain that gurgles like a mountain stream. Every stone I place, every root I bury is a promise to myself that this space is mine, not a battlefield. The living room, which was once dominated by family photos, now has vibrant canvases that speak to my taste and my vision. These changes aren't merely cosmetic. They're a reclamation of my identity, a shedding of the skin my family tried to force me into. I find that my therapy with Dr. Lena White deepens, and her office is a peaceful lodge where I work through the knots of my past. She says, "Your family built a system where your role was to serve, speaking with a voice like a steady drum. And their shock at your refusal shows that they never saw you as equal." Her words ignite a fire of understanding, and I now see how their love came with strings, unwritten contracts I was expected to sign without question. The eviction notice wasn't just about my house, it was their attempt to keep me small. But I'm not small anymore. I'm a river carving my own path, unstoppable. News of Cassandra floats through distant relatives like a whisper on the wind. Cousin Lila over coffee tells me that Cassandra's stay at my parents' house has soured. Her demands childcare for her boarding school kids, a lifestyle beyond their means, conflict with mom and dad's plans for retirement. "Your mom finally told Cassandra no on babysitting every weekend," Lila says, her eyes wide. Cassandra lost it, saying that they were failing her. The irony stings. My parents, who gave her entitlement, are now experiencing its bitterness. I feel sorry for Cassandra, but it's tempered by clarity. Her refusal of Ethan's settlement, her pursuit of a life she can't sustain, is a storm of her own making. I don't pass judgment, I only distance myself, and my boundaries are a shield against her chaos. My legal fortress, built with Rachel's guidance, stands strong. Notarized property records, incident reports, and neighbor statements are all filed neatly, ready if needed. Rachel's final meeting is a ceremony of closure. "They'd be foolish to try again," she asserts with a firm smile. Uncle James calls once a month with a steady oak voice, saying, "You did right, Lauren. Property's yours, and so is your peace." His support and Aunt Evelyn's occasional lunch invites keep me connected to family without getting caught up in their drama. David, a pediatric therapist I met at a hospital committee, brings an unexpected warmth into my life. His quiet curiosity and questions about my work spark something new. Coffee breaks turn into dinners, and then we hike through Willow Creek's trails, his laughter a melody against the rustle of leaves. One evening, he brushes my hand and says, "My family believes in letting us choose our paths," showing me what connection can be: support without strings, love without control. Our bond grows slowly, like a seedling finding light, and I allow myself to lean into it, cautious but hopeful. Thanksgiving, which used to be a boisterous gathering at my parents' table, is now a potluck at Sarah's. Friends who are a mix of blood and chosen fill her home with warmth. We share stories instead of obligations, and I laugh freely, the weight of expectations gone. The neighborhood luminaria event, where bags lit by candles line the streets, draws me closer to Willow Creek's heart. Neighbors like Mr. Hensley nod as we set bags together, their recognition of me, Lauren, not someone's daughter, anchoring me. I am Lauren Mitchell, a woman who has walked through fire and emerged whole with my roots deep in the soil of my own making. The ache of lost family ties lingers, a quiet pulse beneath my days, but it no longer defines me. I have created a world where my voice matters, where my boundaries are honored, and where love doesn't come with chains. My home stands like a sacred grove, its walls breathing with the strength of my choices, and every corner is a testament to the life I've reclaimed. I throw my first party a small dinner for Marcus, Priya, Lena, and Sarah, and the table is alive with laughter and the clinking of glasses. We tell stories of victories. Priya's new project, Marcus's boundary with his brother Lena's promotion, and I feel the weight of their presence, a chosen family woven from trust, not obligation. Sarah raises a glass, her eyes bright, to Lauren, who fought for her home and showed us how to stand strong. The toast catches in my throat a surge of gratitude for these souls who see me not as a role to play, but as a woman with fire in her bones. The success of my program leads to invitations to speak at healthcare conferences, and I realize that my family's dismissal of my work was a lie and a way to keep me small. Dr. Patel pulls me aside after a presentation, her smile wide, saying, "You're changing the field, Lauren. Your clarity under pressure, it's rare." Her words are like sunshine warming the places where my parents' doubts once chilled. The extra money from my promotion allows me to pay down my mortgage faster, with each payment laying the foundation of my independence. I admire you, Lauren. You built this life from nothing against everything. I want to build with you, if you'll let me. His words stir something deep, a hope I'd buried under years of family expectations. I nod, my heart cautious but open, and we sit in the glow of my garden's fountain, the future unfolding like a fresh leaf. David becomes a steady presence, his quiet strength, a river running alongside mine, and we spend evenings cooking together. His hands are skilled with a knife, and his stories of his family's respect for autonomy teach me what love can be. Lila's gentle updates carry the news that Cassandra has moved into a condo and that her real estate commissions are faltering as she pursues a lifestyle that is out of her reach. She's struggling, Layla says over coffee in a kind but clear voice, but she's not listening. I feel a twinge of sadness for my sister caught up in her story of entitlement, but I know that her path is hers to follow. My parents also suffer the consequences of their complicity, their retirement strained by Cassandra's demands. The clarity of my boundaries restrains my compassion, and I don't harbor anger. My legal protections, Rachel's painstaking work, stand untouched, a silent sentinel. I check my files monthly. The notarized records and incident reports serve as a reminder of my strength. Rachel's last call is a quiet victory. They've backed off, Lauren. You've won this. Uncle James and Aunt Evelyn continue to be my anchors to family. Their calls and lunches serve as a bridge to the past without its poison. James shares wisdom from his teaching days, saying, "You've rewritten the rules, Lauren. That's power." Evelyn's quiet presence, her stories of standing up to her own family and their care, feel like the warmth of a hearth. When the eviction notice's first anniversary comes, I mark it with a ritual. I light candles in my living room, their flicker dancing on the walls, and I write a letter to myself that says, "You are enough. Your home, your life, your choices. They are yours. No one can take them." And I burn the letter in my garden, the smoke curling skyward like a prayer. The act feels sacred, a release of the guilt my family tried to instill in me. I am not selfish, I am sovereign. Dr. Lena White's therapy becomes more than just healing, it's a place of growth. "You've shifted the narrative," she says, her voice a steady drum. "You've shown that family doesn't mean sacrifice, it means mutual respect." Her words help me see the patterns, how my parents' love was conditional, how Cassandra's demands were motivated by envy, and how I forgive them not for their sake, but for mine, to relieve the weight on my heart. I start mentoring Marcus, helping him deal with the pressures of his family, and my experience serves as a roadmap for his journey. "You showed me it's okay to say no," he says, and I feel the ripple of my fight touching others. My home, which was once a battleground, is now a cornerstone of this community, with its sage green walls, a symbol of resilience. I repaint the front door, a bold crimson, a statement of joy of claiming every inch of my space. I join the neighborhood festival in the spring, setting up a booth for the community garden. Neighbors stop by, their smiles warm and Mr. Hensley brings his grandchildren, their laughter bright as they plant seedlings. I'm no longer just the woman who fought her family. I'm Lauren, the one who grows flowers, who shares tools, and who belongs. The first email I've received in a year comes from Mom, and it's cautious. We see now we pushed too far, Lauren. Your home is yours. We want to talk if you're ready. It's not an apology, but it's a step delicate as fresh ice. Dr. White advises caution. Set terms, public meetings, no housing talk, respect for your boundaries. I respond my words measured, thanking them for their reflection and outlining my conditions. A coffee meeting ensues, neutral ground at a busy cafe, their faces soft but guarded. We discuss trivial topics like weather and work, not Cassandra, and I sense the possibility of a new path, not a return to the past, but something cautious based on respect. My life, however, blossoms, David's hand in mine. My career soars. My home is a haven, and I stand in my garden, the fountain's song blending with the wind, and I know I've won, not just my house, but my right to be. My family's demands, their ultimatums were a storm, but I am the mountain, unshaken, rooted free. Cassandra's struggles continue, her condo. A compromise, she resents, her social media quiet, now the bravado gone, and I wish her healing. But from a distance, my boundaries, a wall she cannot climb. If today's story resonated with you, don't hesitate to share your own experience in the comments below. Hit that like button and subscribe to the channel to follow more journeys of resilience, recovery, and powerful transformation. Remember, sometimes the hardest roads we travel, the ones filled with setbacks and heartache, turn out to be the most meaningful journeys of our lives. Thank you for staying with me until the end of this story. I hope you too find the strength to turn your losses into stepping stones for a stroll.